Do you have an event coming up and need a snack to bring? Maybe you've heard our previous episode of the podcast titled Happiness to Share, featuring Nikki Barrios of the Happy Cookie. The Super Bowl is coming up, and I'll be showing up at my buddy's house with a plate of wonderfully designed cookies of both team logos made by the Happy Cookie. I have good and bad news. The bad news is that half of those cookies will be the Patriots logo because they are, once again, in the Super Bowl. The good news, however, is that these cookies will all look awesome, be delicious, and they're going to support local business. So that's the Happy Cookie, operating out of Greeley. Nikki takes all orders from her Facebook page, so get there before your next event and ask yourself, what creative cookies could I request from Nikki? Welcome to the More You NoCo, the podcast bringing curiosity and community connection to Northern Colorado, one conversation at a time. I am your host, Ivan Wayne. Settle in, everyone, and get comfortable. Do you enjoy live music? I bet you do. Do you enjoy supporting people in our local community? Of course! That's part of listening to this podcast. Today's guest had an impromptu but driven start into the world of music. Softas-nall started the band Blue Lady with her friends over a random encounter one day. Their lineup has changed over time, and you have to hear their music on Spotify. We will hear clips from 2 of their tracks on today's episode. Are you ready, listener? Let's go. The first track from Blue Lady is titled In the Woods, from their EP In the Woods. Welcome, everyone, back to the More You NoCo. Unless this is your first episode, then in that case, welcome and hello. Ivan Wayne here. I sit with Softas-nall, band leader, singer-songwriter of Blue Lady. So first of all, thank you for joining us and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So for people who are hopefully very interested, what is Blue Lady?
Blue Lady is a Colorado folk band, singer-songwriter. We have a lot of jazz musicians in our band, so actually they're all jazz musicians. They're from the UNC, University of Northern Colorado School of Jazz, so they're all studying music, they're professional musicians, but I kind of just found music on my own as a singer-songwriter. I write my own stuff and kind of just add musicians on when I can.
So how did you meet all the members of the group?
The first guy I met was Lorenzo Faggini from Italy, and he was an exchange student coming from Italy to the School of Music at UNC, and I saw him like just on Turner Green at UNC, just hanging out, playing his guitar, and I was like, wow, that guy looks really interesting. He had like super long hair that was longer than mine. His hair was like down to his butt. I haven't seen that on a guy before, so that was kind of striking. And then he saw me with my guitar and he was like, hey, can I play your guitar? And I was like, sure, why not? Here you go. And he was like freaking John Mayer. He was so talented. So we just became good friends, and then from there just started playing together.
And then he had friends that joined the repertoire?
Yeah, so they have all been all over the world pretty much. He lived in Mexico for like 5 years, I think. And while he was there, he befriended the drummer in our band, Jorge Castillo, and he brought him over to UNC from Mexico, and he goes to the School of Jazz as well. So kind of just a little bit of everywhere, and I just kept meeting people through them, and added like 5-6 guys to the band now.
Right. And unfortunately, we cannot be joined by everyone, but let's give them a shout out. And I noticed on Spotify that a lot of the band members are from interesting places around the world. So let's shout them all out, say what they play and where they're from, if you happen to know that off the top of your head.
Yeah, so Lorenzo Fascini, he plays electric guitar, and he's from Rome, Italy. And then Jorge Castillo plays drums. He's from Guadalajara, Mexico. We have Jimmy Eats, he's from Colorado. And Justin Mathis, Jimmy plays, he plays everything, but mostly he plays bass on our studio recorded music. But when we play live, he plays banjo, mandolin, guitar, everything basically. And he's a vocals major, so he kind of just does anything possible. And then we have Phil Kramer. He plays violin, and hopefully he will play some upright cello. He plays upright bass and cello, so we hope to get him doing that soon. And then we have Alec Bell, who is in the Burrows, which is a pretty well-known band in this area, and he does trumpet. And Justin Mathis from Pennsylvania, and he plays saxophone. And then we're going to add another member, Connor Taronis from Denver, and he graduated from UNC with his degree in jazz guitar.
My goodness. So all these trained university students come into the band with music, but I've noticed that you taught yourself, and I stole from the interwebs that you taught yourself on YouTube. What was the inspiration for this? How did this come about?
I really never expected to do music, like, in the slightest. I was an athlete all of my life. I played college basketball, and then when I gave that up and was like, oh, this is not working for me, I don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. every day and lift, and I just lost my love for basketball a little bit. So then I picked up a guitar, and it happened really naturally because I have music in my family. My aunt was an opera singer, and she toured all over the world with Bob Hope, and she sung at Carnegie Hall, and she was in the New York Times and everything, and pretty famous. And I didn't really know that until the last couple of years, so I felt like it was in me, and it just came really naturally.
Do you have any other family members who do music?
That aunt, her name is Nall, and she was a child prodigy. And then I have another aunt who was a child prodigy in piano. And my dad, he is an opera singer as well.
And so when you picked up the guitar and you started to learn music, you felt this within you. It's almost like you brushed a diamond off that had been sitting there since you were born.
Yeah, that's a really nice way to put it. I like that.
How did you teach yourself? Did you listen acoustically with your ears? Did you learn tabs? How does a person go from hearing music to being able to create it and then write it down for your band members?
YouTube, like you said. I don't know. I didn't know anything about music. I didn't know how to read music. I think I took one choir class when I was a kid, and I was like, I hate this because I can't say what I want to say, and I can't sing what I want to. So that's how you know I think I was a singer-songwriter, because I was like, I want to say what I want to say. Mm. Honestly, YouTube, I just started looking up songs that I really liked and learning those. Learned a lot of Lumineers songs and The Head and the Heart, folk songs. Just started writing my own music after that at some point, maybe after a year of just learning cover songs. Mm-hmm. Started writing, and then my friends are so talented, my bandmates, that they can just write up all the technical stuff that I don't understand whatsoever. So they write up all the music for our songs and know the beats per minute and the stuff I don't know.
Right. So I was about to ask if you all shared your music with each other with tabs or with sheet music, but it sounds like you just play it for them, mm-hmm. and then they write it down and they translate it for each other.
Yeah, they do. Yep.
And so how would you explain Blue Lady's sound? Where your inspiration comes from, and how would you describe your all's band?
Definitely singer-songwriter, folk. So I love the Lumineers. That's a huge inspiration for me. I also love the band Angus and Julia Stone. They're a folk singer-songwriter band from Australia. I think every time I play, my friend Jimmy is like, oh, your songs are so chillax and chill. I don't know if that's a genre really, but I think very relaxed, chill vibes make you feel good.
When I pulled you up on Spotify and I was first going through your library, it felt very Colorado from the start.
That's good.
And I don't know if that's intentional, if that just happens to be because we're in Colorado, or if it's a coincidence that you like this sound and it seems to me Colorado. I mean, there are people out there who may listen to Blue Lady's EP, which is out there, that everyone should go get, titled what?
In the Woods. So super Colorado. You were onto it. There's a whole song that's just like entirely about Colorado. I think it says Colorado 2 times in the song. So yeah.
Right. You called it out. But that wasn't the first song. So it wasn't because you just said it. But yeah. And I just think it's always cool to hear how people generate a sound and how they get inspired. How far back was this epiphany when you said, I'm going to be a musician, or I want to start to learn music?
It was 4.5 years ago when I stopped playing college basketball. It was right at the end of my career.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it would go this far. I just kind of kept going, and I hope to keep going, and I love it.
What did you major in back then, or maybe even today? What did you feel like you were going to do if it wasn't going to be music?
Probably psychology.
Okay.
So I did psychology and philosophy. So philosophy was great for music, actually. I got a lot of inspiration from philosophy in my music.
How so?
I love existentialism, and I very much quote existential things in my lyrics. Like our song Howl has almost a direct quote from the philosopher Nietzsche. You probably wouldn't know that unless you're very nerdy like myself. But
what process do you have for lyrics? Is it just like when you sit down to write a set of lyrics, do you have something in mind, or are you kind of just like jamming on the guitar and you see what pops out?
Interesting process. I think about that quite a bit. Definitely the melody comes first for me, and then I can put words to a melody, but it's kind of what I'm thinking about at that time, like the philosophical kind of stuff. Like I'm always thinking about what is the meaning of life, or like why are we here? How do we live a happy life? And I feel like that goes into my music a little bit. I write about meaning and like happiness a lot.
Why do you feel like Blue Lady has been more successful than you thought it was going to be?
I think because it just came really naturally. Like I didn't have to do anything, and I've never had that experience in my life because I studied psychology and I felt like I was good at that, but I had to work really, really hard at it, and music is just kind of effortless in a way. So I don't know if that was through my genes, like I just had it in my family, or I just started picking it up and it just kind of like came to me.
Yeah, and now you all are on the precipice of recording a second album, right?
Yeah.
When should people look for this? Or, I mean, it's just out there in the cosmos. We were talking before we got started that you all will be going back into the recording studio soon.
Yes, in middle of March. We're working on it now. So it should be released like early April, I would say.
And where have you all played shows, or like how far has Blue Lady traveled at this point?
Kind of been all over Colorado, mostly in Greeley, but in Fort Collins as well, Windsor, Erie, Denver, Loveland. Those are the places that we've played, so kind of an array.
Mm-hmm.
Love to get up to the mountains, but...
Do you have a favorite venue you all have played?
Favorite venue? I really love the Colorado Room in Fort Collins. They have great food, so I'm all about getting those sliders, and I'm really excited to play at High Hops on March 15th. So that's a great one of my favorite breweries.
Yes, if people have not been to a show at High Hops, I don't even think it matters who it is, especially if the weather's nice outside. They have an excellent outdoor space. Go to High Hops in Windsor. Dr. Pat Weekland, who's been on the show, owner and operator of High Hops, a great space, and it's a wonderful, just cool place. The first time I went to High Hops, there was someone playing, and it didn't even matter who they were. I was like, this place is awesome, and this music is great. Like, it was a good experience.
Yeah, it's the atmosphere, I think. They have a really nice environment. I don't know, there's art everywhere, and I just dig their whole thing, so I'm really excited about that.
What was your first show like? Were you just nervous as all hell, or super excited, or it was like, let's see how this goes?
Yeah, I think I was more like, let's see how this goes. I don't really get that nervous to play, which is interesting. I think it's probably because I was an athlete my whole life, and there was like tons of people watching me play at every moment. So I think that definitely fed into music. Like, oh, people are staring at me. I didn't have a problem with that. But first show I think was at Patrick's Pub. people didn't know it was my first show. They were like, oh, how long have you been together? How long have you been a band? And I was like, this is literally the first time we're playing ever. Well, for me, but together as well.
What do you mean by that?
The first time I played, I think I had a trumpet player and Jimmy on bass at Patrick's.
Oh, I see. So you were starting to build the ensemble, but all the pieces weren't there yet.
Yes.
And people still enjoyed it, though.
Yeah, they thought we'd been together for years, and I was like, this is the first time I'm playing live.
That's good. And you have a show coming up at Pat's again, right?
Yeah, 2 in February.
Okay, so what are the dates and locations so that our listeners who are super eager to get out there and see you in person, where should they go and when?
February 1st, we're playing at Patrick's Irish Pub for their 10th anniversary party. And then on the 23rd, they have LGBTQIA event. So I am also an LGBTQ member. So
Holler.
They chose me. Holler, yeah, Pride. Get your Pride on the 23rd of Feb.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then after that, you'll be going back into the studio, so no shows planned after that?
No, we have quite a few in March. The 1st, we're playing at the Colorado Room, and the 15th, we're playing at High Hops.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So.
I have already forgot. Excellent. Are you from the northern Colorado area originally?
Yeah, was born and raised primarily in Greeley, but I'm also Greek, so I have dual citizenship, dual nationality. I'm Greek-American. My mom's from Greece, and my dad's American. So mostly grew up in Greeley, but also grew up in Greece a little bit. I usually go back every year to see my family.
Like you make trips back and such as you were growing up?
Yeah, oh yeah, I made trips every year. Would usually spend a few months there in the summer because my parents were professors, so it was nice that they had time off in the summer. So we would just go see our family in Greece.
Yeah, and then I happened to see that you did some master's degree, or at least part of it, in Dublin, Ireland.
Yeah, I did. I got 1 master's, so now I'm working on my 2nd master's. But yeah, got my first master's in Dublin, Ireland.
And how was that?
Awesome. I'm wearing my Guinness sweater. I love Guinness and Ireland. It holds a place in my heart.
Yeah.
I just feel good talking about it.
Which is funny because people will be like, oh, Sophia has a Guinness sweater on, big whoop. But then you're like, no, I got it in Ireland.
At the Guinness storehouse, yeah.
Right. And I saw that you were playing music while you were over there. Mm-hmm. So was that Blue Lady that you were just going out and playing for people? Or were they primarily covers? Or
it wasn't Blue Lady. I was playing with my friend Harshit Kumar. He's from India. And we kind of were busking and playing open mics and playing in pubs and stuff like that. It wasn't Blue Lady. We're kind of working on another project together. So he also does electronic music. So I'm trying to get into that area of music as well. I love electronic stuff. So we kind of, I don't know, we had an acoustic duo, and it was some of my songs from Blue Lady, but also like new stuff that we were writing and stuff that he writes and covers.
And how was that experience? That was for a year, right?
Yeah.
A year. How was that year? Just, you've spent a lot of time in Greece, primarily from Greeley. You went to UNC for your undergrad, right? Mm-hmm. And so how was this time that you got to spend in Ireland?
Awesome. I felt really at home there. I loved it. I thought that people were really progressive thinking, which was cool. They were really open and accepting towards LGBTQ people, towards international people. Like, there's just people from everywhere. Like, I'd get on the Dublin bus and would hear Spanish, Portuguese, French, German, English, like Chinese. I lived with 2 girls from China, a girl who was Saudi Arabian American, an Irish girl, and an American girl. So it's just really diverse experience.
Mm-hmm. I was just about to ask if it would be weird you playing in public at a venue or at a bar or whatever, and you're speaking English. But it sounds like there's so many languages present that nobody would bat an eye.
Yeah, they don't really speak Irish. There's Irish on all like the street signs and like the libraries, and it's everywhere, but they don't really speak Irish. They speak English. So
what led you to decide to apply to this school instead of just staying at UNC?
Adventure? Well, I did go to Ireland once in 2016, and I spent 10 days like on a road trip with my friends. We rented a car and drove a whole circle around the island. So that was like one of the best times of my life. And we went to this national park and I was like, oh, it's so green and beautiful. I just have to live here. And then 2 years later, I did move there.
That was my experience with Colorado. I took a vacation and was like, what is up? I have to be here. And I moved.
I get it.
A few months later. You mentioned that you're trying to cross your projects with electronic music. And my first thought is just a complete quandary. How do you try to blend and find a harmony between singer-songwriter folk and electronic music? I enjoy both, but they're very different.
They are very different, but I think they're blending more and more. I don't know if you listen to the artist Odessa.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so they are doing that now more and more, which is really cool. On their last album, A Moment Apart, they featured a lot of singers. So I think that's really cool when you can have the electronic parts and then put a vocalist into it. Okay. So that's kind of where I'm trying to go.
Right. Okay. I guess I assumed that you would try to get in some acoustic licks and some of that kind of style of music in the electronic music, but you just mean like singer-songwriter, audio, voice style on top of electronic music.
Yeah, more the vocals.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking like hearing a banjo, guitar on top of like wub, wub, wub. I was like, this is going to be I would have to hear some tracks to see how this is going to be. Do you have any future goals, plans, wishes for Blue Lady? Or are you just riding the wave?
Yeah, I'm just riding. I just want to record a lot more. Definitely get in the studio more. I'd love to go to Ireland with the band. I'd love to tour. I know all the pubs there that we could go and play. So I would love that. Yeah.
And where does the name Blue Lady come from? Does this have some other significance?
Well, firstly, my girlfriend and I were at Cranford Tea Cove in Greeley, and they have an Earl Grey tea called Blue Lady. And I was trying to come up with band names at the time, and I quickly figured out that is like the hardest part of the whole musical process is, what is your band name? I don't think it comes naturally, maybe for some people, but like all 5 of us at the time were just coming up with stuff and like nothing was coming. Like they were all trash names. But then she saw this tea. She picked up this Earl Grey tea and she was like, this tea is called Blue Lady. What do you think about this? This could be your band name. And I was like, yeah, we'll throw it on the list. Sure, the long list of names. But then it really kind of stuck because blue is my favorite color and I'm Greek. So it kind of had like a little bit of a resonance with like the sea. And I write a lot about the sea and Greece. So Blue Lady kind of fit different parts of me.
What do you mean you've read a lot about Greece and the sea and the ocean? What do you...
Yeah, I do. I just, in general, my mind constantly goes back to the sea in Greece, and that's like my happy place, my peaceful place. So I write a lot of songs about like the Greeks believed that the sea has soul. Like they believed that the sea actually had like some kind of energy or spirit the way that humans do. So I think that's an idea I like to write about.
What are some of the names that you all scrapped early on or ones that were up there in the running?
Oh, God. They're just so bad. I can't even remember. They were just so trash.
Names are a funny thing, right? Orange Lady, Blue Lady. Like, you can change one thing about a name and it takes on total meaning. It bounces off the wall, completely different to people. And you just think about so many band names. And before it would be validated by the entire world that, oh, that's a band name right there. Some band names seem so obscure or weird or silly when you see them on paper or if you first hear of it. I remember I was a huge fan of a band named Skillet when I was growing up.
Yeah, I know that band.
My mom was like, Skillet? Just name it after a pan? Yeah. Like, what a great band. And I was like, you don't understand, Mom.
Yep, the Beatles.
Right?
I mean, really?
I was in a conversation once with someone about what the band name Beatles meant. And they had told me, but I forget. So there's some backstory to it, but...
Tool. Yeah. Like, there's some strange names out there. But...
Right. So yours was after a tea that you enjoyed at the Cranford Tea Tavern here in town. And you're like, our name could be Blue Lady. And it stuck.
Fit because of the sea, really, I think. And the drummer in our band, Jorge, he was like, we could basically call ourselves anything, like you were saying. Like, we could just have some random name and, like, people eventually are going to hear our music and like it. and then associate us with that name. And it's not going to matter what we're really called, but I like the name.
Do you have a favorite part of the Blue Lady experience? Being a musician, working with friends, and getting to do shows, putting your music out there?
It all kind of does, but I really like to get into the studio. That's more rare because it's pretty expensive, but we're saving up some money, so that's cool. I just like to see how my bandmates work because I don't have the technical knowledge. And I like to see when they write up the music, like the sheet music to our songs. And I don't know, I just like to see everything that they can do because they're so talented. And I'm like, I write lyrics. Like, please come up with some banjo lick to this. And then they just do.
I know one song in particular features a saxophone part that I just really loved. And I assume you didn't come up with that your bandmate was just like, I'm going to throw this here. What do you all think? And then you just vibed with it.
Yeah, Alec is really great. I think he wrote the horn parts. So Justin Mathis did the saxophone, and he's on tour like all over the world now. Yeah, it's just amazing. Like that horn part, was it from
I couldn't tell you. Maybe?
I don't know. I love the horn part at the end of Howl, and I think it was Alec that arranged that for the horn section, and I was just like blown away.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that now that the music is coming together and you're getting closer to recording the second album, is it going to be different? Does it have a different vibe? Does it have a different feeling as you look back on your first album?
Yeah, it definitely has a different feeling, and new members, because we lost 2 members because they are on tour. They are on a cruise ship, so they're like playing music everywhere. I know they've been to Australia, all over Asia, New Zealand, just anywhere you can think of. So we lost 2, but then we gained 2. We gained Phil on violin and Connor on electric guitar. So it'll be interesting, the experience with new people and the sound that brings.
If our listeners get a taste of you on Spotify, iTunes, and they want to see you in person, let's remind them one more time, where can they see you in the near future?
February 1st at Patrick's, February 2nd at Gentry's.
And those are both in Greeley?
Yeah.
Okay. Most excellent. Sophia, thank you for your time.
Thank you. I enjoyed our conversation.
Our second track today from Blue Lady is Howl off their EP In the Woods. Don't worry, we will be back soon, hearing from another person or a group of people on the NoCo. As always, I want to thank Russell Isaac Long for the music used here at the NoCo. Check us out on Instagram or Facebook for extra information, bonus content, and updates about guests who have previously been on the podcast. That's the NoCo, all one word. Original, right? Thank you for listening and supporting the show. Until next time, peace!